I have an admission to make this morning. You'll notice that my fascinator looks a little different than it did when the show first started this morning. I think we have what it looked like when I started the show this morning. Well, to my absolute horror, we have a hat expert here this morning who informed me that this beautiful fascinator he made for me was in fact on backwards. So I have now put it on correctly. That beautiful hat expert is with us this morning. That is, of course, David Dunkley, who has been the only official milliner for the King's Plate ever in its history. And you've been doing this now for just over a decade, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, a decade. I think you're the first person to ever say a decade.
Oh my gosh. Listen, it is experience that you should be proud of, and we are proud of what you have done. This beautiful collection of hats that's in front of us was inspired by the coronation of the King and Queen. Tell me a little bit about what's in style right now.
Well, for this collection, for the running of the first King's Plate, as with King Charles, I wanted the collection to be as luxurious and as beautiful as possible. So like this piece here, the pink piece, that was inspired by a town crier. And then obviously gold is a magnificent color for, you know, anybody, but especially for a coronation. So gold was the inspiration for the collection and the color inspiration. So I wanted to kind of jump off from there and then just make the most beautiful, exquisite things you could possibly wear to the running of the King's Plate.
Do you have a favorite, or is that like asking you to pick a favorite
child?
Well,
there's no such thing as a favorite child, right, Kelsey?
Right, of course.
But at the moment, I am 100% crushing on this hat and the medals that are there. I was inspired by the Order of the Garter that the King wears, or the royal family wears. And so I researched what they were and who made them and found the company that makes them and purchased these vintage. They're not the real deal for the Order of the Garter, but they're the real quality from the company that makes them for the Freemasons, actually.
That's amazing.
So they just were my jumping off point. So I would say these two hats are my favorite.
Can you tell me a little bit about the fascinator?
So this fascinator is called the Lady Emily. The style, the embellishment that's on it was the very first embellishment that I ever learned to make with Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother's milliner. I was sent home one night to make it. I mastered the skill, but I didn't master how she put it together, and thought for sure I was going to come back to Canada, shaming all. And she loved it, and it's been in my collection now for that style, which is called my English fascinator, for over 20 years.
David, what I think is so incredible is you are so talented when it comes to hats and fascinators, but this was not your first career. You started doing something completely different, working in the lab technician.
I'm a medical lab technician.
And then how do you go from that to this?
Well, then you go back to school and study public administration and think if you could just become an administrator in public health, you'd be a happy man. And instead you accidentally trip into hat making, because every hat maker becomes a hat maker by accident. So as did I. It's very sculptural, it's very artistic. I blossomed in it. I wrote Queen Elizabeth's hat maker a letter and asked her if she could, if I could study with her. She said yes. So from George Brown, I went to London, England, where I went back and forth for 9 years and studied with Her Majesty's milliner. So it's just been a magical ride.
Well, you know what? I'm so glad you followed your dream.
Thank you.
And so we all are. Canada is much more stylish because you did. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.